Okay, today we're going to take a look at how to use HTML and CSS together in REPL.it. So how to kind of write HTML code. We're going to abandon NetBeans, as I said before, and until Dreamweaver gets up on the computers, we're going to use REPL.it, which is actually really good, so I'm not too concerned about it. Once you get here, you're going to click on here. You're going to go and do some coding in HTML, CSS, and JS stands for JavaScript. Now, we're not going to do JavaScript, at least not yet, and so I'm going to get rid of this file. Yes. And REPL.it gives you a few things that you don't need necessarily, like these meta tags. I could take those out. And this script right here, I'm going to take that out. That has to do with JavaScript. I'm going to take that out. But if you look closely at this, it gives you a doc type, which we've talked about. It gives you the HTML tags, it gives you the head, and it gives you the body. Notice the body section is empty, and I'm going to put some spacing in here just so we can see it a little better. Just for, this can stay, it's not going to hurt anything. Meta tags are just providing more information for the technical side of the internet to read kind of what kind of page is it and that kind of thing. I don't need it though, so I'm going to take it out for now because we're still learning. And here's the title of my page. I'm going to call it John's page. Change it to whatever I want. And this line, I'm going to leave that in because it's nice of REPL.it to provide that. What that does is it says, hey, there's a style sheet called index. Here it is. And it's going to control the look and the feel of this page. And so I'm going to leave that. That's something I was going to teach you guys how to do, but since it does it for us, then we're good to go. Now, I'm going to put a comment in here. It says, this is the body of the page, just so I can keep my page organized. And I'll put one up here saying this is the head section. Nothing here shows on the page. Just a little reminder. And for those of you who are uber organized, I like sectioning things off. It kind of tells me where to go. So I could even do this. I've seen this done a couple times by some coders, which is kind of neat. I can put that line like that with no real defined width, just to make it look like, okay, that's a section upon itself, and this is a section upon itself, and now I can kind of see, okay, here's the head section, here's the body section. Okay, great. Now, what I have is a completely empty page. If I were to run this, you're not going to see anything at all over here. So, oh, and the nice thing about REPL.it is I can copy this URL, and I can paste it right here, and I can take a look at my page. I don't know, they just kind of come up with these random names. So there's nothing at all on my page. So I have two ways to see my page. I can see it in the kind of preview over here, but I can also paste that URL into a new tab, and I can see what I'm doing. Okay, now divs, as we've talked about, are very, very, very powerful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a whole bunch of divs in here, and you're going to think I'm kind of crazy because it's going to look weird for a minute. But I want to divide my page up into a bunch of different sections. Okay, what I want to do is I want to make one of my divs called container. Now what you need to realize is this is a random name picked by me. I could have called it this if I wanted to. It really doesn't matter. They don't have actual meaning in this case. So container, I'm calling it container because I want it to contain all of my content. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this div called container, but I'm going to put the closing div down here. And all of these other divs are going to live inside like that. Okay. Now, when I do that, I'm gonna have a whole bunch of divs inside of a page. So I'm gonna have like a header. I'll call this ID equals header ID. And I'm thinking about all the different divisions I'm going to have on my page, one called Nav Bar. Sorry, I'll break there. And then I'm going to have another ID. So I've got the header, I've got the Nav Bar, and then I'm going to have the content section where I'm going to have all the actual stuff on that one page. And then I'm going to have an ID called footer. So in my brain, it's a scary place to go, but in my brain, what I'm thinking, just to kind of show you, is I want my web page to look like this. In Word, I can insert a table. So I'm thinking I'm going to have kind of a website where it's going to be sectioned off so that I have this header area up here. And here I'm going to have my nav bar. And here I'm going to have my content. And here I'm going to have my footer. And so the content area is going to be the biggest one. The footer is going to be small at the bottom, like that. My nav bar is going to be really small because that's just going to be the place where I have the navigation, like all the links. And the header is going to be a banner at the top. Now the content won't be a defined height because depending on how much content, this area could go on, or it could be short, we're not sure. But the header is going to have a height, the nav bar is going to have a height, the footer is going to have a height. Okay? So I'm thinking this is how I want to lay it out, and everything is inside of what we call a container. Okay, now let's go back to REPL. And I've got it all set up the way I want it. I've got this fifth div that I don't need right now, so I'll take it out. So I've got a container that's going to hold a nav bar, or sorry, a header, a nav bar, a content, and footer in that order. Now, if I run this and see what I've got over here, yeah, nothing, right? That's because I don't actually have anything. It's not like when I put in these divisions, it's not like putting in a table where borders are going to show up automatically. I have to put in some content, give it some style and stuff like that. So let's start with container. So I'm going to go over here, I'm going to make some rules. So I'm going to put hashtag container. And in the container, let's make the container border double. That's always a nice look. And we'll give it a width of, say, and here I always think about what's the normal kind of resolution of people's screens. Usually they're around 1024 pixels wide. So if I go 900, that's fairly safe. And so if I do this and then run it, look at that, something showed up. Now notice I didn't code anything in the HTML. They're still blank. I'm doing this in CSS. So this is controlling the look of the page. If I then copy, paste, just so I have the structure, and I go, okay, let's do something for the header now. If I make the header height, say 150 pixels, and I'll make the background color I don't know, red, sure. If I do that, now let's see what happens if I run that. Okay, and if I change that to a 0, then I get even smaller. And then I can say, okay, well, based on that, I kind of see what's going on here, and so I'll do a nav bar, and I'll do content, and I'll do a footer. Now the nav bar we want to be really small, so let's make it like 30 pixels and make the background blue, and really I'm just showing you kind of how to section them off, so I'm not worried about how it's going to look here. We don't want a height on the content because again it's going to be dynamic, it's going to be depending on what's going on, and we'll make this green. And the footer, again, we want that to be pretty small, so I'm looking at my header, it's 100, I want it to be smaller than that, so maybe 60, sure, and we'll make that yellow. So now, if I've done everything right, I should see 4 distinct sections on the page, although content might not show because I haven't given it a height. So if I run this, yeah, there we go. And you see there's no content. Now, oh, now I screwed up my, that should have been 30. Now I can, obviously I pick it up pretty quick when I run it and see my nav bar is too big. So there we go. Now, again, no code in here, right? This is all done in the style sheet. So then if I go back to content, and let's put some content in. I'm going to put some just random content. This is my site. So I'm putting that in the content area, and now what you'll see is you should see a green area pop up. There we go. If you're wondering why there's white, that's because there's padding on the P tag. If I take the, it's a default of web design. There's an automatic padding that comes with paragraph tag, and if I take off the paragraph tags and just put it like that, you should see it go away. Now a better solution to that would be to actually alter the padding, but I'll show you how to do that another time. Notice the text here, black on green, not the best look maybe, so I could go to the content section and say color. If I do a normal color, then that's going to change the text color. And these are things that you get used to, like knowing that this refers to the text color. You just get used to it as you do CSS and you ask the internet questions and stuff like that. But if I run it now, then it's, oh, color width. Sorry. There we go. Okay, so there's white. And if I go here and reload the URL, then you should see all of that stuff. There it is. And if you're thinking there's other things we want to do, like maybe center the web page or whatever, there's lots of different things you can do, but we're just kind of starting out. So that's the basics of how CSS controls an HTML page. And then, as I type in here, then you'll start to see content appear. So for the nav bar, for example, I could have home and about me and all that kind of stuff that you see on standard web pages. That's where I put my links. And so if I do that, then I run it, and then there's my content. I can go to nav bar and I can make that color, maybe the color of the text I want to. Oh, and also with the color of text, you can include hex codes. So if I just Google hex codes for color, oops, notice they already kind of pop up. And if I go to share HTML color codes, yeah, this is a good one. And I can say I want kind of like I don't know, maybe I want like a light blue or something like that. I can go and highlight the area that I want, and there's the hex code. Hex code stands for hexadecimal, and it's what computers read as numbers. So I can put that right there like that, and then I can specify all kinds of different colors. It doesn't have to be just blue, yellow, red. There's tons of different colors I can use, and if I run that, then there we go. I got kind of a unique color. And there are also ways to do things like make links a different color. So if I were to go like this, copy the nav bar area, and remember with a link it starts with an A tag, so I can do this, which says any links in the nav bar, we can change the color of them to be whatever, orange, I don't know, or something like that. And then if I go back to my nav bar and I make an actual link, I'll just make a blank link for now just to show how this works. If I make a link and put home inside that link, then now I've linked the home text to do something. And now this is how we kind of make a dummy placeholder. So it's going to be a link, but it won't go anywhere. So if I run this, then see how the link is orange? Well, that's because I told it to be orange. So this says any links in the nav bar, we're going to make it orange. So you can control a ton using CSS. That's probably good for now. So go do your CSS exercises, and you may have to look some stuff up on the web. And I would highly recommend W3 Schools. It's a very good place to go, and good luck.